fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort.
Hello, and welcome to Healing Outside the Box. This is our 127th show. My name is Lisa Burton, and I'm a heart-centered lifestyle coach.
My name is Rosemary Lachance, and I'm an energy healer and a spiritual therapist.
We are the co-hosts of this thought-provoking series and are dedicated to providing you with food for thought information and answers to all modalities of alternative healing, spiritual development, animal welfare, environmental concerns, and so much more in the form of guest speakers who are experts in their field. If you know of any subjects that you would like us to discuss, or if you know of anyone who you think would make an interesting guest, please let us know. Please also like us on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box, where you can learn about and see pictures from some of our past guests and ask questions or leave a comment. Enjoy the show.
Thank you, Lisa. 127 shows. Wow, huh? The title of our show tonight is Messages from the Animals, and our guest is Patricia Brooks. Patricia Brooks. She's an angel healing practitioner and an author. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Patricia. I'll tell you a little bit about Patricia. She's a former teacher that's being directed and guided by God to share his messages. She feels the call so strongly and believes in the message so deeply that as a single mom of 2 teenagers, she resigned from her job and dedicated her time and talents to the promotion of her book and the spreading of the healing messages that God guided her to write. Having felt the dislocation from spirit and great personal pain, she is dedicated to helping others realize their true selves and find joy again through spreading God's message of oneness, connection, and communication. That's very nice. So the first question we ask you always is, what made you get into this line of work? What happened in your life and whatever that turned you to this, to doing what you do now?
Well, this was a very unexpected line of work. I never had any aspirations to be a writer. As you mentioned, I was a high school teacher, computer science, and past couple years I've gone through beginning my spiritual journey, my spiritual awakening. And that came at, during some emotional trauma, some deep emotional trauma. At the same time, I started receiving messages from people asking me if I was a writer, telling me that I was to write a book. And I didn't even know what they were talking about. But I knew that if I just kept studying and I just kept reflecting, that it would be presented to me. And this past February it was. This past February I had 2 very specific communications, I believe, from God, telling me not only what to write my book on, chapter by chapter, but also giving me the book title.
Wow.
So,
And the title is?
God is in the Little Things, Messages from the Animals.
It's a beautiful book. You want to hold it up?
Sure.
Take a look at it? Show the audience?
This is my book.
We'll get a close-up on it. You give us a minute.
And that's available now?
It's
Where?
available now.
There it is.
The viewers can go to my website, godisinthelittleThings.com, and there's links to order, or through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the major
wonderful.
online
Oh,
retailers.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Very good. So what is this book about?
This book is my honest, emotional, and spiritual journey from sadness and loss to finding joy again through understanding my spiritual self. And my story is, as you mentioned, divinely written and divinely guided. And it's told through the visits of animals acting as animal totems and the messages that the animals gave to me, that God gave to me through the animals.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I think we're thinking the same thing.
Yeah, how you were quiet enough to listen and knew that they had a message for you.
Well, it came over the process of a couple years. The first couple, I wasn't aware. I just was very scared, or really didn't understand what was happening. But as the animals kept presenting themselves to me, I started to become aware of animal totems, and as I was continuing on my spiritual path, I realized that they were messages that the animals
Specifically for you.
specifically because they were presenting themselves in such unique or repetitive ways that it was definitely out of the ordinary and definitely a spiritual communication.
Now,
Wonderful.
the viewers would have no idea how these animals came to you. You might want to give them a little example. You could start with the bats. I've read the book. I couldn't put it down. It was so good. So you could tell them, give them a little example of how the animals appeared to you, how they came, and they really real animals, and how you came in contact with them.
Yes, animal totems, I don't know if the viewers would be aware, but animal totems are animal friends. And the belief is that they energetically communicate with us, or God communicates through the animals. So these animals were real. Some
Right.
people receive them in dreams or meditations, but all of mine came as physical animals. And the bat was actually the most persistent of the animals that presented itself to me. And the first time the bat came to me was in my bedroom, and I was asleep, and I was actually awakened by the bat, and it was fluttering directly above my face.
Oh my
I actually
goodness.
could feel the flutter. I could hear the flutter, and I had no idea what it was
Wow.
until I turned the light on, and then I was terrified.
I
was
bet,
terrified.
yes.
Yes.
And you ran screaming out of the room, right?
I ran screaming out of the room and yelled to I thought it was a bird first, and that
Yeah.
terrified me. When you're asleep
Yeah.
and you're awakened so unexpectedly and it's dark,
Right.
you just feel very vulnerable.
Right.
At least I do. Very vulnerable and very overwhelmed. And I jumped up, ran out of the room, and was screaming for my now ex-husband to, there's a bird in the room, there's a bird in the room. And I ran out and I slammed the door. And he got up, and then he's like, "It's not a bird." And I was like, "Oh my God!"
Even worse.
Even worse. I think it scared him a little bit at first too. And he told me it was a bat. And then it's one of the animals I was most fearful of was the bat.
And to find out, ladies and gentlemen, what happened with the bat, how she got out, you're going to have to read the book. But then this little bat came back again, didn't it? A couple more times, huh?
Different bats, couple more times, always in my bedroom.
Get that message to you, right?
I honestly believe so. And once I really said, okay, I got it. This is a message, and I
Finally
really looked
got
at
it.
the message.
God said, I sent 3 bats.
Exactly.
That joke? I sent 3 ships. I sent 3 bats.
Right, and I finally got the message, and they haven't come back, so I think we're good.
And no bats were harmed in the writing of this book. So, so the other ones appeared to you like, just like as you're walking along, right, and in your yard, or just to give people an idea how these animals appear to you,
Right.
So that people will know when there's an animal that comes to them that there's sometimes what they don't have to do is look it up in a book what the animal means, right? There's
Right.
lots of books out there that are really good to tell you.
There's books, there's the internet. It's really important, though, when you're working with animal totems or looking for messages from the animals, to realize that it's not every animal that you see.
Right.
That it's just, I give the example, if I'm sitting on my back deck and a bird flies over my head, that doesn't mean that the bird has a message for me. The
Right.
bird probably flew over many people's heads. The animal has to present itself in a unique or repetitive way, something out of character for the animal. And when that happens, it really catches your attention. And
You want to give an example for?
so, for example, many of the animals, they all presented themselves in that way, but one that really stood out was the toad. Again, it happened in my bedroom, which is not quite sure why. I live in a 2-story house, and my bedroom is at the end of the hall. It's the furthest room from any door,
Wow.
and it's 3 stories in the front. So an animal has to come in and either go up 1 flight of stairs or 2 flights of stairs and down a hallway to get to my room.
My
Wow.
goodness.
And I woke up one morning, it was after the divorce, and I was sleeping, and I was having a hard time. Emotionally, I had a very hard time, for a while. And I remember waking up, and I was still sleeping on my side of the bed, so I knew exactly where I was sleeping. I hadn't really claimed the whole bed as my own yet. And I got up, and I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. And I was like, how did a rock get on my headboard? And now my bed is like a high slat bed, with the high headboard. And I looked again, and I went to pick it up, and it wasn't a rock.
Oh.
It was a very large, living, breathing toad. And it was sitting directly above my head on top of my headboard. So, and this was larger than my fist. So this toad couldn't have come in on anybody's clothes. So this toad had to get in my house, up at least one flight of stairs, down a hallway, up my bed, up to the top of my headboard, and it was literally sitting directly above my head when I was sleeping. So I would say that the toad was presenting itself to me.
Oh, I would say
very
so.
specifically.
Where did I have to go for this girl? Boy, shoot, that's a long way to go.
I know, right? And it wasn't there when I went to sleep. I know that for sure. So,
Yeah.
and I'm a very light sleeper. So somehow this toad, got up my bed and onto my headboard without me
So
being
how
aware
did you
of it.
start connecting the symbolism to these different animals?
Well, it's really interesting. I opened my book with the story of my cat Misty. My cat Misty, I lost about 7 years ago now, and Misty was my heart. And after Misty passed, he got sick and he passed on, and I was just so sad. And one of my friends said to me, would you like to come? There's a new store. It has some crystals. It might be fun. We'll just go and kind of get me out of the house because I really, I was really in a real funk after Misty passed. And when I was in the store, I, was just kind of wandering around, and I came to a book section, and I was looking for something that would remind me of Misty. And I found a book, and it's actually called Animal Speak. And it,
Oh, yeah, Ted Andrews.
Ted Andrews. And I had never known anything about animal totems or animal symbolism before. And I started flipping through the book, and it caught my attention. And it wasn't really what I was looking for as far as Misty, but I felt compelled. It was about animals, so I felt compelled to buy the book. And so that was my first introduction to the animal totems or symbolism. And then as the animals I still didn't resonate with me though, I just thought it was a really kind of cool topic, but as the animals kept presenting themselves as time was going on, I started to pay more attention, and I had the book for one of my references.
Do you think these are experiences many of us have, and we're just not tuned into it?
I think absolutely. I think
Yeah.
Me too.
I think that there's such a connection, and this isn't anything new, right? I mean, animal totems, animal symbolism has been around since ancient times. I
Right.
mean, many civilizations and cultures
Oh,
have
yeah.
known the connection and honored the
Especially Native
connection.
Americans.
Native
But even
Americans,
far back, the Egyptian times and all that, yeah.
the
they did.
Druids,
Yeah.
and all of the ancient cultures, I believe, honored the connection to the natural world and our connection to the animals. The belief, as I said before, is that they can energetically communicate with us, or that God communicates through them. And I believe that's because we're all the same spirit. We're all spiritual beings.
Right.
So anybody can have a connection with the animals. I think you just have to be open to it. I think God communicates with us in whatever way we're open to, or many different ways, in ways that we're open to. I think through the book and through my relationship with my cat Misty, was very open to the animals, and that's why God,
Chose that for you.
method for me. Yeah, but I think anybody and everybody.
Give people a couple of examples. I was walking by the reservoir, and I stopped by the fence and looked. There's a little bit of a clearing to look into the woods, and all of a sudden a baby deer popped its head up and just stayed there and stared at me, and I stared at him, and I talked to him, he looked at me, and I felt now he was there for me. That was a message. So that's one way it can happen. Another thing was I was in traffic in the car in the city with all, just no country at all. A butterfly came from nowhere around my car, around the front. And I said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Go away, you're going to get hit by a car." And the butterfly just stayed around, and then before the light changed, and it took off. So that's another example to let
Absolutely.
people know these are certain ways that animals, you can tell that it's yours. So you go home and message or dream, right?
Right. Animals can come in dreams.
Yeah.
Or they can come in meditations,
Yeah.
or they could present themselves physically. It's really important. It's actually so fun. It's really
Oh,
so
yeah.
fun. I mean, I believe that, once you really start paying attention and you allow yourself to be open to the different forms of communication, especially with the animals in nature, it just makes everything so much more fun, and to be aware, to be able to embrace the butterfly you know, coming to you like that. You know, I mean, what a gift,
Yeah.
you know.
And also, one came into my house. My cat found it, and I kept it until it broke. The wing was a little bit broken, so I kept it until it was able to fly away, and so forth. So these are all different ways that, you know. And I got the message of the butterfly. Butterfly comes to me a lot, so I got that message. And you're right, nature gives us messages also. There's so many signs, messages, synchronicities, everything that happens to people. But like you said, people are not listening. They're just not.
Too busy.
Yeah, too busy.
You know, I absolutely believe that, and I believe that that's why, you know, many times people go through great emotional trauma of some sort before they maybe start down their spiritual path,
Yeah.
because we just need, you know, we're distracted, we're busy, and something has to get our attention. And for me, you know, through the breakdown of my marriage and subsequent divorce, and I call it my emotional recovery, you know, I mean, I was knocked to my knees, I have to say. I mean, I just surprised me, you know, how difficult it was for me. And it wasn't until I really didn't know what else to do that I really went inward and, you know, and said to God, you know, you have to help me now because I don't know what else to do. And I really believe that's when I started down my spiritual path. And I think that's what happens with many people.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a shame it has to be that way. Something has to really happen before we get our attention. But, you know, we're trying to do with our show to tell people you don't have to wait for that kind of thing to happen.
Exactly.
And sometimes it may not happen if you can get the messages before, you know.
Exactly.
But if people would just stop with all the things in their ears and listening to something all the time and busy and talking and cell phones and texting and da-da-da-da-da, how can anything get through all that?
Right.
You know?
Right. And if you invite, you know what I found, if you invite the animals, you know, if you, it's not only just being open to them, you know, you need to, you know, you set your intention, right? Everything is intention. So it's not just like, oh, that would be great for the animals to visit me. You know, invite the animals, you know, and tell them that you're open to their communication, and then just pay attention. You know, you'll be very surprised, you know, how much they will, they'll communicate.
It made me think of something when you were talking about all the distractions and all that, and I feel like the word surrender came. That either you're forced to surrender and be quiet because of trauma, or you could choose.
You could choose
to just take the time to be still and reflective and surrender to God, or whoever you call God.
Right.
And then listen.
I know people, the first thing in the morning when they get up, TV comes on. Listen to all that negativity,
yeah.
all the things that come on. Then it's the computer. And then it's well, I don't have one like that. I have a regular cell phone, but cell phones with all the things you can do on it. All right? Then in the car, there's the radio, and on and on and on and on. There's never any quiet. Never. Matter of fact, they can't even listen. They don't like the quiet. That's sad.
Right. Right. And there's so many gifts. There's so many gifts in the quiet, in just the awareness, in just taking that, you know, that really deep breath, and acknowledging that we're part of just such a magnificent world. You know?
That's true. We even miss beautiful scenes and beautiful things, flowers and beautiful things that are here, you know, and we even miss all that because we're just tunnel vision, you know, blinders. It's too bad. So what made you write the book then?
Well, I as I mentioned before, I received two very direct communications from, I believe, God, that showed me chapter by chapter what to write. And you know, divine timing is amazing, because the first communication I received, as I said, I was a high school teacher, was the night before winter break started. And I woke up, it came, you know, I was in the dream space, but it was not a dream. It was very different than any dream I had. And I could see information being put into my head, and I knew exactly what it was the instant that it was coming into my head, and I wasn't afraid. I just was in awe. I mean, I woke up thinking, wow, how perfect! Like, how perfect is that? And I literally just stayed in bed for 4 days, writing. I couldn't stop writing. It just poured out of me. And like I said, I never even liked to write. You know, so when people were telling me you're going to write a book, I'm thinking, okay, because I'm not a writer. And I couldn't stop writing. And I've never been so content in my entire life.
Wow.
It was the most amazing experience. And then it took probably, you know, maybe a month and a half after that to kind of write the story around it and edit it. But it all happened very, very quickly. And then 2 weeks after the first communication, I had another communication that said to me, seek and you shall find, for God is in the little things. And then it said, now, Patty, get up and write that down so you don't forget. And I said, okay. And then I repeated it. And I realized that was my title.
Okay.
You know. And so why did I write the book? How could I not write the book? You know, I really feel like I'm really truly just the messenger, and I just feel like it's just, again, another blessing, another gift. It's been a whirlwind since that started, because I wrote the book, I resigned from my job, and my whole focus is just trying to spread the message, because my book is really a book about hope, and it's about healing, and it's about connection. And you know, so I mentioned that I was kind of knocked to my knees in my divorce, and, you know, I kind of felt like I was the only one that could ever feel as bad as I felt. And then one day, this is another reason I think this happened to me. One day I received a text from a male cousin of mine, a very masculine male cousin. And I say that because I was surprised by the nature of the text. And he texted me, may peace find you and wrap you like a warm blanket. And I read that, and I said, oh my gosh, like, he gets it. He had been divorced a few years earlier. He understands. And then I thought, you know how one thought follows another? If he understands, he must have felt the way that I feel. And then if he felt that way, other people must feel this way. And I never realized that. I never looked at people realizing that people could be living their lives, or, you know, walking through their lives with some very deep pain. And then that touched me so much. I mean, I could get emotional now, because I just wanted people to feel better. I just want people to realize that, you know, they're not alone.
Not alone.
You know, and they can feel better. And my story is how I found joy again. And I believe that's another reason why God, you know, I feel like He's asking me to spread these messages, because I want people to know, and I want people to feel better. And I am getting people are writing me and saying, you're writing from my heart. You know, I'm living my experiences again through you. One woman wrote, I know that I'm worth it too now. You know, like, so I know that people
are really connecting.
They're connecting, and they also need to hear the message, you know, the message of love and the message of connection.
It takes time to heal. It took you time.
Yes.
Take, you know, 3-4 steps forward. You take a couple backwards and on. You know, I said from your book, and that's just human. That's the way it is, and that's nice. So people can know that also. You know, so.
Right. This wasn't a fast process, right?
No.
Right. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I'm curious. Have you had any people say, what could you possibly hear from an animal? Are there people that are skeptical that what you heard, you really heard, or how you interpreted it?
Most people that have read my book, it's really interesting. A couple people have said to me, thank you for giving me permission to have this conversation. I think that many people want to feel the connection to nature and the animals. They want to feel that deeper connection to themselves. I think we yearn for that connection. And some people have said, thank you, you've given me permission, because you've brought up the topic. Other people say, wow, that's the coolest thing ever. You know, I never thought of that before. And then they'll say, okay, this is what happened to me. What does this mean? And then, you know, I actually probably 2 or 3 people, I'd say, out of everyone that I've come across, have been skeptical. One person, you know, I think was a little fearful and in some way, and he told me that I should stop talking to the animals and read the Bible. And I
Oh, geez.
and I said,
Oh,
and I tried to explain that, I mean, I do read the Bible. This is
Right.
not in place of the Bible. This is not
Right.
in place of I'm in interfaith seminary school. I mean, I honor and believe, many different faiths. I believe we're all one spirit. I believe that we're all saying the same thing. This
Right.
doesn't take the place of the Bible. If anything, it just, I think, makes the Bible even more real and resonates with me. The story of the divine, of God.
well, some people believe that if it's not in the Bible, it can't happen, it can't be real. But that's not true, because that's just a history book written 300 years after Christ died, with all the things that happened as hearsay. So it's not all in the Bible, but there are people who feel that way. So whatever, it's their choice.
Yeah. But overwhelmingly, I would say that people are very, very open, very open and very excited and very, very, very interested in learning more about the animals and the animal symbolism. And like we said, this isn't new. It's
Right.
just for some reason
Might be new for some of us, but it's
well,
not new.
it's unfortunately it's missing from our modern consciousness, and that's why I'm so excited to talk about it, because I'd like the conversation to really restart, because I think it's an important one to have.
So when you see the animal, you'll get like something in your head will be like a message, or do you just go to the book and find out what that means, or both, or how do you? So
Well, it's kind of a little bit of both. I believe that a lot of it is intuitive. They say that we already have all the answers. We already know everything, right? So I think that if people kind of really, like we said before, just are quiet long enough to become aware, I think that their intuitive voices will become louder for them. So I think part of it is definitely intuition. But it's also important to realize that the symbolism comes from the behaviors and the characteristics of the animals. So it's very directly tied. So if you study the behaviors and characteristics of the animals, you could probably figure the message out yourself, add a little intuition, and you would be there. Or there are, like we said, books or different internet sites of people that have already studied and have already come up or figured out the messages, and you can look it up if you'd like. But it's kind of fun to, like say, to use a little bit of your own intuition too, and some of the behaviors and characteristics of the animals.
I dream about animals a lot, an awful lot. An animal like a hippopotamus. Oh, hippopotamus! Appears in the dream. So you wonder. So I look it up. Everything that I see, I look up.
And it's also, when you're studying animal symbolism, there's a lot of other factors. You can get really, really deep and specific. Like, we can talk really, generally. I could, give you some basic animal symbolism. But if an animal presents itself to you, then I think it's important to dig a little deeper, because there's, many messages that the animal could give to you. But some of the messages are also come with the landscape that the animal might appear in, the number of animals that visit you, the direction the animal comes from. So there's the color of the animal can be part of its message. So there's quite a bit for somebody who really wants to study animal symbolism. There's quite a bit to study.
Could your book be considered controversial?
I think it's misunderstood, or not very well understood. I guess people could be skeptical, like, the person we spoke of before, and could consider it a little controversial, but I think mainly it's just not well understood yet. I think that it's missing from our modern consciousness, and I believe, once we kind of bring it back, and really have the conversation, allow people, give them permission to have these conversations, then I don't think it's controversial. I think it's the most natural thing in the world.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of books written about animals and about the symbolism and about all that. And but this is your own personal experience,
Right.
which I think helps people to understand more than just pick up a book and read about it. This is what happened to you.
Right.
That's what this book is about, your personal experience. And that somehow I think that affects people more.
It makes it more real.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could relate to it.
Right, because I just tell my story very, very honestly. I don't try to teach you anything. I'm not trying to preach to anybody. But while I'm telling you my story, I think many people see themselves in my story, or they can relate because, you mentioned the bat, so you'll remember animal symbolism because you'll relate it to the story of the bat and how the bat presented itself to me. So it gives you a frame of reference, a context, in order to remember and understand. I found that I've read quite a few different books in spirituality or spiritual topics, and I love it when I read it, but I can't relate it back to my own life as I'm in the midst of living it then. Somehow it just always seems to stay separate for me because I didn't have a frame of reference. But I think that that's what makes my story unique, in that, I'm just telling you my story, and then through the visits of the animals, you'll remember the different animals, or you'll remember my reaction to an animal and say, I would have done the same thing, or
Right.
or how silly was she to be so afraid, or whatever way you'll think of the animal, and then you'll be able to relate that in the context of your own life.
It's a real life example.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you can
what
really
people need to hear.
experience it.
You need to hear that kind of thing. It makes people feel closer. It makes them understand better. I have some friends who have this wonderful garden. They live on the beach, but they have this backyard, and they plant all kinds of different vegetables and things. And praying mantises are there a lot. So they made friends with the praying mantises, and they named 2 that were mating. And they took pictures and everything else, and holding them, and they made a little story. So now they're going to write a book about a short story about praying mantises, the way they think that they're conversing and talking and everything else. So even the little creatures, like God's little creatures, like praying mantises and grasshoppers and ladybugs and all that, that's still, they still have messages.
The insects are some of the most ancient of the animals. The insects are some of the most powerful of the totems because of they've been around longer than many of the animals.
Yeah.
You had mentioned the butterflies before. Butterfly is very symbolic. A butterfly is symbolic of evolution. So if we look at the behaviors and characteristics as a quick example, the butterfly goes from the caterpillar, and evolves into the beautiful butterfly. And so a very simple message from the butterfly is one of evolution, one of change.
Freedom.
Freedom, and the flying is always freedom, right?
True.
I just had a memory now when you were talking about your butterfly around your car. This was during the summer, a dragonfly.
Oh, they're very
Right.
spiritual.
Windshield, I'm driving right in front of me. And I'm thinking, okay, what do you want to tell me? Because it was like,
Right.
I'm here. And then he was gone. But it was not by chance that he was
No.
at that angle and he was right there. He was like
love
an iridescent
dragonflies.
purple, too. I had never seen a purple
They're gorgeous.
dragonfly. Yeah.
That's
So-
a good title for a book. I've never seen a purple dragonfly. I always think of those things.
Right, they're
Yeah.
normally blue, the dark blue
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, he was very unique.
Well, dragonflies are symbolic of the realm of light. And because the light reflects off the dragonfly's body, the older the dragonfly, the deeper the color. And so a simple message of the dragonfly is to look to your own inner light, because we are
Interesting.
light. And the deeper the color of the dragonfly speaks to a more, a mature, learned, advanced type of a soul or of your light, to kind of let your light shine,
That's
That's
interesting,
nice.
yeah. Yeah, he was very, in my face.
When I lived
It's fun
by the reservoir,
when you think about
It is. It's
Yeah.
fun, right?
we were trying to save geese from coming out to
yeah,
the
I
street.
remember that. Yeah.
And so underneath the fence, there was holes dug, so the geese would come up that way down the street. And sometimes they'd hit by a car, and we were just like, oh, we were so protective of them. So some neighbor and I, we called the town, and he said, well, let me know where these holes are. I said, okay, we're going to tie ribbons, red ribbons. Wherever you see the red ribbons, you're going to find the hole so you can fill it in. So we went down with our spool of ribbon and cut it and kept tying them. And this dragonfly came along and followed us the whole length of that. He'd stop and he'd look like What are you doing? Okay, I know what you're doing. And then we move, and then he come and follows the whole length and back again. He stayed with us, and we talked to him and everything. I mean, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
It just makes my heart just, you know,
Wow.
just beautiful.
Yeah.
You can't say that that's nothing.
Right.
You just can't say that's nothing, you know.
No, we're definitely connected.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, this isn't specific to animal symbolism, but you know, they say that animals communicate telepathically, and if you want to communicate with the animal, do it telepathically.
Oh, yeah, you can, yeah.
And I used to do that with one of my cats that, you know, wouldn't come in at night or wouldn't come, and you know, my ex-husband would go and he'd call and call and he wouldn't come, and I couldn't go to sleep until, you know, the cats were in. So I remember reading that you can communicate with them telepathically. So I would lay in bed and I would telepathically, what I thought that was, I would visualize him coming to the back door. I would speak to him in my head, but in pictures, and have him come to the back door. And then I would say to you know, my husband, can you go check one more time, you know? And he'd go down and he would always be there. And so he finally just said, I'm not even going to call him. Can you just do whatever you do so we can just be at the door? And because we're connected, you know,
Yeah.
there's a strong connection.
Yeah.
You know?
We have to listen to those words in our head. When I was doing healing on, when I do healing on animals, they telepathically tell me things about themselves, how they feel, where they want to be healed, where they want to pass over, how their masters are, talking about their masters and how they're, you know, treating them, or how they worry about them, and or how they feel bad, they want to stay because they know that they're going to be heartbroken. So I have to tell them, you have to tell the animal, tell your dog, your cat, it's okay to go, you know, things like that. So that's, you know, that's, and people, anybody can do this if they just tune in and be quiet and make it their life's work.
I wish I knew you with Misty, because
Yeah.
you know how much I struggled with Misty. That was so hard.
I had to stop when she was going. I couldn't finish that chapter because I started crying, and I'm going, oh, I can't do this because I've lost many pets. And the last couple were 2 cats, you know, and I have another one.
But that was my struggle was, do I bring him home or do I keep him at, you know,
Right.
that was so hard. That was so hard.
It was hard,
You know,
but I took mine home too, and she passed on with me.
See, I left mine because I thought I would be giving up. He was sick, and you know, they said you can keep him on the medicine or you can bring him home. But if you bring him home, he's passing. And I couldn't accept that, and I just didn't want to give up on him. And then he passed at the vet on the machine, and that was one of the reasons I had such a hard time after Misty passed, because of having to, you know, make that decision.
Well, she passed when I brought her home that day. When I said I'm not going to let her pass on, he said she can go at any time. But I took her home and put her on the blanket and did something. I came back and sat down with her on the floor, and she passed. I had never seen that ever before. It was quite traumatic for me. I was glad, but it was a pain in my heart that lasted me for a long time. And then something happened that I was able to get rid of it. Now, the other cat that I had, I should have, now I realized, should have taken him to the vet and had him put to sleep, because he lingered and lingered and lingered, and that was wrong. So I didn't, as much as I know, my sorrow and my not wanting to lose him made me do the wrong thing, actually.
Right.
And he should have gone. So I just want people to know that you got to listen to your heart and really listen to it, and try to be quiet so your animal can tell you. And there are times when you bring him home, and there are times when you have to take him to put him to sleep, you know.
I remember a vet telling me once, when I had made the decision to have a cat put to sleep, that it was the last loving thing I was doing for the animal, you know,
Right.
to allow them to be at peace. So you're right, there's times that you have to, you know, put your heart aside and demonstrate the love, you know, as hard as it is.
We all know, 3 of us here know, and millions of people out there
Cat
know.
ladies.
Yeah, that animals have souls. Animals go, they pass, they come back, they're with us. I mean, I've seen spirit animals a lot, okay? They just run by or something, you know. And so we know that, you know, their life goes on, and we know we're going to see them again. We know they incarnate again, but still, it's our loss. It's our heart. I don't know. You know, the animals depend on us to take care of them, and people who hurt animals have been very abused themselves to do that. But I don't want to see anyone ever hurting an animal. I said, God, don't let me ever see it because I don't know what I do. I understand why they're doing it, but I still can't handle it, you know. Cannot, because animals trust you.
Yes, they do, yeah.
You could walk up to an animal with a knife and stick it in him, and he would just sit there. He would not know, you know. That's how trusting they are. And that scares me because they're so trusting.
I do believe the animals, you know, I had read that a cat, especially if you have a deep bond with a cat, the cat will stay with you, you know, until they know that you're okay. And I know without a doubt that Misty, you know, was with me the day that I picked up the book on animal totems. You know, that I believe that he, you know, he was part of the journey. You know, he led me to the book, which was really the beginning.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I don't know if he still comes and visits me occasionally or not. You know, I like to think he does. Maybe he's passed, you know, really passed on. Or
Well, when you see them, it's not like really seeing them with your eye. It's seeing them out of the corner of your eye. It's seeing, you know, I walked into a friend's house and she had some cats, and I said, well, where'd you get the orange cat? She says, what orange cat? She says, we had an orange cat, but he passed on. I said, well, he's here. You know, it's just a flashy thing. It just, I don't know how to explain how it happens. It's like time stands still for a second. It's not that you physically see the animal right in front of you.
That's more the energy of the animal.
Yeah, you
pick
just,
up.
it's a flash thing. It's a, I don't know, it's a flash. It's like going from one world to the next in an instant. And that's it. You know,
That's
people
so
think
cool.
they have to see it big and bold in front of them. No. No. That's what they do in the movies, but that's not the way it is.
And you know, and that's one of the messages, for lack of a better word, from my book is that connection. Is that because we're one spirit? You know, that the spirit of God. I believe the spirit of God is not only in all of us, and we're all connected, but in all of the animals and into
Definitely
nature. So.
He created them like us from the same material.
Exactly. So it makes perfect sense that we would have those strong bonds, or we can communicate with the animals, or we could feel the animals, or they would visit us afterwards. Because the Spirit of God, I believe, is in all beings.
I think that animals are little angels sent from God to help us, to learn from us, and to teach us. You know, because why else would He put them here? And why do they have no need to talk? I always say that, you know?
You know what's funny?
They don't have to talk.
I want to jump back to the telepathy with the animals, because you know Gus,
Gus,
big puffy Gus. I have
Gus.
He's an angel.
Yeah.
He's a big puffy cat, one blue eye, one green eye. He's
Lovey,
quite funny, yes, looking. So there was one night, we had new kittens in the house. One night, he's sitting by the back kitchen door in a spot he never sits. So he's looking at the door and he's looking at me. I'm like, he's trying to tell me something. So I opened the door, and behind the kitchen door and the storm door was one of the kittens. He told me. The cat wasn't meowing. The kitten that was stuck in there, she wasn't meowing. I'm thinking, okay, Gus, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. They do that. Yeah.
Yeah, very smart.
My Jesse will show me when there's bugs in the house, if there's a bug, and he'll just sit there and, you know, and okay, thank you, and then walk over to it and just look at it. Okay, Jesse, and I take it outside, you know. I don't kill anything.
So yeah, we're connected.
Yeah.
We don't either.
Yeah.
We don't either. We pick them up. I'm usually the bug person in my house. You know, my kids will call me most times. You know, sometimes they'll do it, but they'll call me so I can get the bug and walk down the stairs and take it outside. Because why? Why wouldn't I?
I know.
You know,
The
why
thought
would
of
I just?
crushing its life?
I know. You know, like I mean, I used to do that, you know, years ago, and then I was thinking, why would I do that? Why would I just kill this bug just for what?
For what?
For
Right,
to not
exactly.
walk because I don't want to walk down the stairs and let it go outside. Like,
Or because people are afraid of him. Or I don't want to pick him up. But I'll tell you a good way to do it. Get a glass. Follow it, and when you get it level, put the glass over it. then you take a piece of like a postcard and slowly slip that in between the wall and the thing, and try to get the bug to move back on the glass so you don't want to break his legs.
Right.
And you try to tap it so he goes back, and then slip it in really quick. Then I hold it like this, go outside, take it off, and flip the glass, and he goes.
Right.
So that's a way to do it, like spiders.
Right.
People don't want to, and it's hard to pick up a spider. Those legs are so skinny, they break easy, you know? So that's one way to do it. Anyway, I felt the need to tell people how to do it. A friend of mine did it once with a centipede, and he came and he was all upset. I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "I did what you said." He said, "I put the glass in to take him out, but the glass wasn't big enough, and I took off a couple of his legs, and I feel terrible." That's
Do they grow back? Centipede, they grow back?
Your heart was in the right place, I told him, because he never did that before.
But how wonderful. Think about that. How wonderful a world we would live in if everybody, you know, honored all the beings in this world, you know, like that.
That regard
you
for
know,
life.
Had that high regard for life, whether it was a cute furry little cat or dog or something, an animal, or even the spider in the house, just to have, or the tree in the forest, you know, or just to have that regard for life, to honor that connection, to honor the spirit that is within all of us. I mean, what a wonderful, wonderful world we would live in.
Wouldn't
you
it be?
know,
Wouldn't it be?
if we all thought that way.
You've hugged a tree, right?
Many times.
You feel that energy from
I've
that
hugged
tree?
rocks.
Yeah, oh yeah, me too.
So-
You feel the energy from that.
Yes.
So magnificent. Just, right? Just,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
that's great. It's
Absolutely.
so great.
I have one of my favorite trees is the dogwood tree, and I have some magnificent dogwoods in my yard, and I can tell you they actually are over my driveway, and everybody says, "Can you just cut those trees?" And I said, "No, why would I cut the tree? I drive around the tree, you know. I'm not going to cut the tree. Why would I do that? I just
There's spirit in the tree.
absolutely,
There's life in the tree.
Absolutely, I'm going to take the branches off so the car can fit. No.
It does seem a little backwards, doesn't it?
You know, no, I'm going to leave the tree and you can drive around it or park on the street. I mean, I just,
They say that when you have to trim a tree, to do it in the fall, the late fall, when the sap is down, which is like the blood, and it's not painful for the tree. I don't mean cutting it down. I mean trimming.
right.
Trimming, and then it's not painful for the tree. Or when you pull out flowers or weeds, take them and put them in the shade, and just let them stay there until you see they start to dry up, so the energy can go out of them slowly. Because sometimes you have to do these things, but this is the gentle, kind way.
Right.
And when you pick a flower, you thank it for what it's giving you. And you pick vegetables, you thank the root is where the life is. You just thank that part of it for what they're doing, or the flower. You know, just doing that. That means so much.
Right.
You know? All right, everybody's going to think I'm crazy, but I'm not. It's true. You'll find out someday.
I
I'm not
don't
afraid to
think
speak
you're
it.
crazy, Rosemary. I don't think you're crazy at all.
I'm not afraid to
I
speak
agree
it
with
out.
you.
Yeah.
I
You're
do.
right. If we all had that reverence for nature and animals, the earth, everything, what a wonderful world we would have.
And I think if we said before, if we just stop long enough to be aware, I think everybody, would feel it. I think it's just a matter that people may not think about it because they're just too busy to be aware of it. But I think if you really just stop and you really do look at the tree, or you look at the different animals or the insects, or, and you see the life. You see the life in it, and it's not a stretch. I mean, it's not a stretch then, Then
Right.
it just becomes like, well, why wouldn't I?
Right.
You're also an angel healing practitioner. Tell us a little bit about that. We've got about 10 minutes, so
Okay.
let's hear a little bit more about you.
Okay, a little bit about me. Well, once I started going down my spiritual path, I started. Let me back up for a second.
Okay.
Once I started having my emotional trauma, which led me to my spiritual path, and I started searching for different ways to feel better, I started learning and studying many different energy modalities, and went to a bunch of, had a bunch of different healing practices and so forth. And other than the animals, the angels are, you know, pretty
Oh,
much,
yeah.
you know, they're everything to me. And I mean, I talk to the angels every day, and so to learn more and to be closer to the angels, because I believe the angels, along with God, is really what brought me, you know, brought me along my path and helped me. I started doing different studies and courses with how to communicate with my angels and how to heal myself and heal others with the angels' help. So it's really more about it's still communication. It's all connection and communication, really, whether it's the animals or the angels. And so I've done quite a bit of study with the different archangel and the different archangels and the different angelic realms, and the different healing that each of the realms bring. And I also do angel, you know, reading different with cards and
Me
so
too.
forth.
I do angel card readings.
Yeah. So it's actually my next book. I was told I was supposed to write 3 books.
Oh, wow.
Right,
Okay.
and yeah, I've been getting. I told you messages from spiritually connected people. Like I would go for a chakra balance, and the person would say, "Are you an author?" I think you're supposed, you're supposed to write a book, and I was told I was supposed to write 3, and I know my second one.
You already know what it is?
I do, because most of it is it's in my head and it's in my heart. You know, I just have to put it on paper. It's God is in the Little Things, Messages from the Angels. Is my second book, and it will be all about the different angelic communication and my experiences with them.
That's great.
So
We all have angels, guides, teachers, and animals. That, you know, they say, how can Santa Claus be everywhere, you know, in one night? How can God be everywhere? Well, he's not. He through them, that's how he watches us, talks to us, protects us, leads us, guides us through all these other spirit beings that are assigned to us.
Right.
So you're not alone out there. You have all of them there, and they all want to communicate with you, but you got to be quiet. As this beautiful lady says, you got to be quiet and let them talk to you.
You know, I'm so glad you brought up the animals with us, because one of the things we haven't mentioned yet is the power animals. So with the animal symbolism, we've been speaking about the animals as message totems, but animals also can be power animals or your life totem. I showed my book earlier. There's a picture of an owl on the cover. The owl is my life totem, and the belief is that animals are with us throughout our life. They stay with us, one or more specific animals, as our power animals. And what they are is that their behaviors and characteristics are symbolic of your inner nature, of your gifts and your powers.
And they protect you. They lead you. They guide you. They protect you just like, I know mine's the bear. Since I was a child, it was always the bear. And I keep getting bear things. I have a couple more, you know. We don't just have one, but we have a few. And then the ones that go in and out, right?
The ones that come for messages, for periods of time to have messages, or the ones that stay with us.
Well, we've got about 3 minutes left, so what final message would you like to share with our audience?
I would truly, from my heart, I would like everyone to really understand that we're divine beings. You know, that and as divine beings, that we can receive communication from God in many different ways, and most likely in the ways that we're open to. And so if nature and the animals is one way that you'd like to receive communication, then just invite the animals. Just be still, be quiet, open your heart, and invite the animals. And it makes it so much more fun. It really does. And
we all have the same, like you said, we're spiritual beings. We all can heal. We all can talk to the animals. We all psychic. We all have those gifts, right? If we just, like you've been telling the audience over and over again, and we tell on our show, just be quiet. Just listen. Stop the noise. You're not alone. People think they're so alone. They're not alone.
right, and ask.
Ask.
Ask for it.
They're for the help. Ask for the help.
Ask for the help. Set the intention, right? Because as spiritual beings, we can manifest whatever we set our intention to. Right? We're very powerful.
Right.
Right? So
If it's for the good of our being, the good of our soul,
absolutely.
we'll get the answer. We'll get it. And sometimes the answer is no, because it's not for the good for us, you know. I don't like the thing where people try to meditate on getting money and getting riches and getting this person to love them or something like that. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about direction. This is what I do with the cards. I give direction to their lives. Yeah. So, anything else you'd like to say, Lisa?
No,
One more minute.
I didn't have a chance to read the whole thing before the show, so I look forward to finishing it. I started online, so
book,
I
oh,
had
yeah.
heard about the toad online,
Yeah.
but on your website. But yeah, it was really very, very inspirational. So
And-
thank you.
And well, I appreciate you reading. Thank you so much for reading.
Well, it's
And
easy reading, and it's you want to know what's going to happen next. So it's really good. It's what they call a page turner. So, but I think that the bat was the funniest because I could just see you running all the time. Your poor husband had to get him out for you.
Yes, I've run out
The
of
towel
more
over
than
your
one-
head.
More than one room I've run out of in my story.
And then
that's
you
for sure.
finally stopped being afraid, and you finally knew what you had to do, and you finally knew that they were persistent to give you their message.
Right, and it was my message, and I had to handle it. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, the time is up. We have to say bye for now,
Okay.
and we're going to give the people your contact information.
To contact or get more information for Patricia Brooks, angel healing practitioner and author, you can reach her at Patricia Brooks at godsinthalittlethings.com, www.godsinthalittlethings.com. We have that several times.
Yeah, if you want to blog, she has a blog spot too, right? www.godsandlittlethings.blogspot.com.
Very good.
I tried to keep it simple.
Yes, yeah, you won't forget that.
To learn more information about this show or any of our past shows, please contact us at healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com, or to reach me, Rosemary Lachance, call 203-627-7966, or visit my website at www.rosemarylachance.com. And for Lisa?
My phone number is 203-804-0024, or you can visit my website, www.theonejoycenterforwellness.com. We're also on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box.
All right, and tonight's quote is about animals. And here it is. Look deep into the eyes of any animal, and then for a moment trade places. Their life becomes as precious as yours, and you become as vulnerable as them. Now smile if you believe all animals deserve our respect and our protection, for in a way, they are us and we are them. That's from Philip Okcha.
Very nice.
Okay,
like
thank
that.
you for joining us tonight. Take
Night.
care. Good night.
Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand.